Your modern Toyota is already doing about 11 things you have never once used, most of them free, a couple of them worth real money, and one of them is the difference between a hybrid battery that gets you to 200,000 miles and one that gets tired at 90,000. None of it is aftermarket. None of it needs a tool. It is all sitting in the car you already paid for. And the reason nobody walked you through it at delivery is not that the salesperson was hiding it. The delivery walkthrough is about 15 minutes long. Most of it is spent pairing a phone. And the person doing it has never had the rear seat cushion out of a Prius in their life. I have. Enough times that I can tell you what the underside of that cushion smells like after 8 years of a family dog riding in the back. That is where number 9 lives. And it is the one I would fix this weekend if you own a hybrid and you have never touched it. 2 more things worth waiting for. Number 6 is a button already on the dash of a lot of Toyota trucks and SUVs, and most owners think it just turns the safety systems off. It does that. It also switches on a completely different traction system that only works when the first one is off. And if you are stuck in a wet field with one rear wheel spinning, it is the difference between driving out and calling somebody. And number 11 is not a feature at all. It is a column printed in the back of your own owner's manual, marked in a way most people skim right past, listing the settings in your vehicle that you are not allowed to change, but a dealer can. And there is a specific moment in the buying process when they will do all of them for nothing. Let me get the general principle out of the way first, because it explains why this list exists at all. Every Toyota rolls off the line, built from a shared parts bin and shared software. The body control module in your Camry is a close cousin of the one in a Highlander sold in Australia and a Corolla sold in the Gulf. Rather than write different software for every market, Toyota writes one set of code with a pile of switches in it, then flips those switches to suit the country, the trim, and the legal requirements. Think of it less like a car with features and more like a house with a breaker panel where half the breakers are already wired to rooms you have never opened. The lights are in there. The wiring is in there. Somebody just left the breaker off. 3 groups come out of that. Stuff you can change yourself right now from the steering wheel buttons or the screen. Stuff the car does that nobody ever mentions, so you have to know it exists. And stuff that is physically present and switched off, where the switch lives on a dealer laptop. That 3rd group is where the temperature rises, and we will get there. Number 1, and I am going to be quick, because it is the smallest thing on the list. If you have a power lift gate, you can teach it how high to open. It is in the vehicle settings on the instrument cluster. A power back door menu with an option to set the fully open position and a separate one for buzzer volume. Set the height once with the tailgate where you want it, and it stops there forever. Low garage, bike rack, or you are 5'3" and sick of jumping for the handle. 30 seconds to never think about it again. Same menu switches the whole system off, which matters more than it sounds, because the foot swipe sensor under the rear bumper will happily open your tailgate in a car wash if you are carrying the key. That one is a convenience. The next one is the only item on this list that has actually stopped a car from being stolen. Number 2 is sleep mode on your key. Every smart key Toyota has a battery-saving function where the fob stops transmitting entirely. Hold the lock button down, and while it is held, press unlock twice. The little light on the fob blinks to confirm. In power-saving mode, the key transmits nothing, which makes it behave much like a key sitting in an RFID pouch. Press any button and it wakes back up. Here, I have to be honest because the sources genuinely do not agree. 2 dealer explanations I looked at say the light flashes 4 times, a third says 3. By the way, if you drive a Toyota and want to keep it running for hundreds of thousands of miles, what you do before something breaks matters far more than most owners realize. That's why I put together the 500K Mile Car Care Bible. It covers 101 habits that can help your Toyota last longer, the warning signs you should never ignore, and how to spot mechanic upsells that quietly drain your wallet. To get your copy, just scan the QR code on screen with your phone's camera, or grab it from the first pinned comment below. My read is that it varies by fob generation and nobody has bothered to standardize the description, and frankly, it does not matter. If the light blinks at you and then walking up to the door no longer unlocks the car, it worked. Test it in your driveway before you rely on it. Why does this matter beyond battery life? Relay theft. The thief stands near your front door with an amplifier, picks up the signal from the key sitting in the bowl in your hallway, and relays it to a second box at your car. The car thinks the key is standing next to it. A key that has stopped transmitting cannot be relayed. I will not oversell it, and people on forums push back hard. And they are right too. This is not a security system. It does nothing to the vehicle, and a determined crew with a flatbed does not care what your fob is doing. It closes one specific hole, that is all. But it closes it for free, in 3 seconds, on a car you already own. While your hand is on that fob, number 3, and this is the one to know before you need it, not after. Your key fob has a real metal key inside it. There is a release catch. Slide it, and the blade comes out. On a lot of newer Toyotas, the driver's door lock cylinder is hidden under a small cap on the handle that pops off with the tip of that same key. And when the coin cell in the fob is dead, the car will still start. Hold the back face of the fob directly against the push button start, keep your foot on the brake, and press. The weak signal can still reach the receiver in direct contact. Some models have a designated spot instead. Older Prius had a slot. The manual for your car tells you which. The failure mode people hit is not knowing the manual key exists. I have watched a guy stand in a supermarket car park calling roadside assistance because his fob went flat, with the answer sitting in his hand. The manual on a recent Corolla Hybrid puts fob battery life at 1 to 2 years and specifies a CR2450 rather than the more common CR2032. Check which cell yours takes before you buy a pack of the wrong ones. They cost a couple of dollars. Change both fobs on the same day every couple of years and stop thinking about it. Number 4 takes about as long to explain as it does to do. Your wipers can be commanded to stand straight up off the glass. Within roughly 45 seconds of switching the power off, move the wiper lever to the mist position and hold it about 2 seconds, and the wipers move to the service position. Turn the car back on, run them, and they drop home. This exists because Toyota parks the blades down under the lip of the hood for aerodynamics and looks, which means you physically cannot lift the driver's blade without it hitting sheet metal. So, 2 uses. Ice storm coming, put them up the night before, and you are not chiseling frozen rubber off glass at 7 in the morning, or hearing the motor strain against a blade welded to the windscreen. Second use, replacing blades. A set of decent inserts is $20 and 10 minutes, and the reason most people pay a shop is that they tried once, could not get the arm off the glass, and gave up. That is the whole barrier. 45 seconds and a wiper stalk. Right. Pause on the count. Notice the pattern in the first 4. None of that is technology. Everyone is a behavior Toyota built in and then documented in a book nobody reads, and the cost of not knowing is either money or a bad morning. From here, they get bigger. The next 4 are not conveniences. 2 affect whether your car gets you home, 1 affects whether an expensive component survives, and I still owe you the button on number 6 and the column in the manual at number 11. Number 5 is the settings menu you have never fully opened, and it is the deepest well on the list. On the instrument cluster of any recent Toyota, there is a vehicle settings display driven by the little switches on the steering wheel. Most people find the fuel economy screen, set it, and never scroll past. Underneath it is a genuine configuration menu. The number of times the turn signals flash during a lane change can be changed. The default is 3 little blinks, which is not enough time to complete a lane change on a busy interstate, and depending on the model, you can take it up to 5 or 7. That is the single most satisfying 2-minute change in this entire video, and I stand by it. On the door lock side, in the Vehicle tab of the Multimedia settings, keyless lock beep volume set high, medium, low, or off. Door relock time set to 90, 60, or 30 seconds. And unlock mode, which decides whether one press opens the driver's door only or all of them. That relock timer is the one that bites people. Unlock the car, get distracted loading the back, and it quietly locks itself again on a timer you did not know was running. There is more in there depending on model. Tire pressure warning settings, including the procedure to set the system to your current pressures. A scheduled maintenance reset so you can clear the service reminder yourself after doing the work. A rear seat reminder you can enable or disable, and a change wheel function. Give me a minute on the next one because it is genuinely useful and it takes a bit of explaining. Number 6, the Auto LSD button that is not a button. On a rear drive or 4-wheel drive Toyota, Tacoma, Tundra, 4Runner, and it shows up on RAV4 and Sequoia too, there is a switch showing a car with squiggly lines under it, usually labeled for turning the stability control off. Most owners press it exactly never, because turning off the safety system sounds like something you do to be an idiot. Here is what actually happens. One press turns traction control off and engages Auto LSD, and the cluster lights up to tell you. If the rear wheels spin, the indicator flashes to show the system is working the spinning wheel. What is Auto LSD? The name oversells it. It is not a mechanical limited slip differential. It is an electronic traction aid that uses the ABS hardware to brake a spinning rear wheel and push torque across to the wheel with grip. That is the whole trick. An open differential always sends power to the wheel with the least resistance, which is why one wheel in mud means you are going nowhere. Grab that wheel with its own brake, and suddenly the axle has something to push against, and the other side gets drive. The reason it needs its own button is a difference in philosophy. Normal traction control's first instinct is to close the throttle. It decides you have too much power for the grip available and takes it away from you. In deep sand or a snowed-in driveway that is exactly wrong, you need momentum. With Auto LSD, the system still brakes the slipping wheel and transfers power across, but it stops cutting engine output. Press the accelerator and the revs come up normally. 2 limits, stated plainly. It only works in 2-wheel drive. On 4-wheel drive models, it is disabled the moment you shift into 4 high or 4 low, and the dash indicator goes out. And it is a traction aid, not a locker. It does not replace a real locking diff. It will get hot if you sit roasting the brakes for 2 minutes straight, and it will not save a truck that is properly high-centered. To switch back out of it, press the same button. And note that holding it down for 3 seconds instead is the command that turns everything off, which is a different thing entirely and not what you want on a public road. You are still here, which means you are the kind of person who reads the manual eventually anyway. Do me a favor and subscribe. There are 5 items left, and the last one is the one Toyota would rather you skimmed past. Because here is what I have not told you yet. Number 9 involves a filter that most Toyota hybrid owners do not know their car has, and the part it protects is covered by a warranty with a hard expiry date on it. Number 7, quickly, because it drives people mad and almost nobody knows the name of it. If your Toyota decides on its own to stop sending air to the passenger side or the back seats, that is a feature called S-Flow. It saves energy by shutting climate airflow to seats it thinks are unoccupied. It redecides every single time you start the car. And there is a setting called S-Flow Control Auto Function, which, switched off, makes the car simply remember how you last set that button instead of overriding you. Here is the catch, and it is the theme of this whole video. On at least some models that toggle is not in your menus. It is one the dealer has to change, default on. Number 8, tire pressure. Every Toyota sold in the States has a pressure monitoring system because federal rules require it. And the way most people use it is, light comes on, add air, hope. 2 things worth knowing. First, the system in your car is generally a direct one with a sensor in each wheel, and those sensors have batteries in them. Sealed, not replaceable. Typically good for something in the range of 5 to 10 years before they start dropping out. When yours throws intermittent faults at year 8, nothing is broken. It is a battery, in a sensor, at the end of its life. Second, do the initialization after you have set the pressures cold, in the morning, before you have driven anywhere. Warm tires red high, you initialize to a lie, and the system stops warning you until you are genuinely low. And if you run winter tires on separate rims, the sensor ID registration in that same menu is what stops the pressure light glaring at you from November to March. Number 9, the one I would do this weekend. If you own a Toyota Hybrid, Prius, Camry Hybrid, RAV4 Hybrid, Highlander Hybrid, any of them, the high voltage battery is cooled by a fan that pulls air out of your cabin, pushes it across the battery modules, and dumps it back out. In most Prius models and many Lexus hybrids that air is drawn from an intake vent near the rear seat, the fan speed varies with battery temperature, and it runs continuously through every drive. It is not a backup or a failsafe. Behind that vent is a filter. Behind the filter is a squirrel cage fan. That vent lives at ankle height by the rear seat, or in the cargo area side trim, depending on model, which is to say it lives exactly where dust, sand, crumbs, and above all pet hair end up. And heat is one of the main drivers of long-term hybrid battery degradation. That fan is what stands between the pack and the heat. Toyota does document it. The owner's manual has a whole procedure for cleaning the traction battery air intake vent, and it is blunt about the rules. Use a vacuum with plastic brushes, do not use water or other liquids, and do not use an air blow gun because you will drive dust further in and can cause a malfunction or output restriction of the battery. It also tells you not to put a hand into the intake. There is a fan in there and high voltage components beyond it. Take that seriously. Cover off, filter out, vacuum, filter back in, cover on. 10 minutes. How often? Here the ground is soft. Toyota's own instruction is essentially reactive. Clean it if it is dusty or clogged, or when the message about maintenance required for traction battery cooling parts appears. One hybrid specialist reads Toyota's service guidance as inspect the filter every 5,000 miles and clean it every 20,000. I cannot verify that interval in a Toyota document myself, so I am taking the conservative position. Look at it twice a year and every time you vacuum the car, and more often if a dog rides back there. The downside of looking is nothing. The downside of not looking is a pack that spends its life running hotter than designed. And the money. Toyota's hybrid battery coverage on recent model years runs 10 years, or 150,000 miles, up from 8 years and 100,000 on older cars. A replacement pack out of warranty is a 4-figure job. The filter is a cheap part and a vacuum cleaner. That is the whole arithmetic. Second pause, and then we finish. Look at what 6 through 9 have in common. Everyone is a system Toyota engineered properly, then buried. Not because it is dangerous, but because explaining it takes longer than a salesperson has. The last two are different in kind. Number 10 is a feature so good that on most trims you are simply not allowed to have it. And number 11 is the list of everything else printed in your glove box that somebody else holds the key to. Number 10. Your Toyota might be a generator. RAV4 Prime, Prius Prime, Sienna, and a few others can be had with a 1,500-watt household outlet fed from the hybrid system. Not a little cigarette lighter inverter. A real outlet that will run a fridge, a furnace blower, a sump pump, a couple of lamps, and your internet. In that order of importance, during an outage. The outlet only works with the car in ready mode, so the traction battery is live and feeding both the outlet and the 12-volt system, which means you cannot flatten the little battery using it. You cannot stop the engine from firing when the pack needs charging, so if the car is in a garage, the door goes up and the tail faces out. No exceptions, ever. That is carbon monoxide, and it kills people every winter. 2 honest caveats. It is trim dependent and not retrofittable in practice. Owners who missed the option have found dealers will not add the hardware afterwards. And I could not find a straight answer from Toyota on whether the output is a pure sine wave or a modified one. Owners have argued about it for years. Most household loads do not care. A sensitive medical device or a picky UPS might. If that is your use case, test it before you need it. Number 11. Open the back of your owner's manual and find the customization section. You will find a table, usually a dozen pages of it, listing settings for lights, locks, windows, chimes, wipers, and climate. The columns matter. Some settings are marked as ones you can change yourself. Others are marked as changeable only with a dealer's diagnostic tool. Owners have documented this on the forums, pages of tables with one column specifically flagging the settings that require the dealer's software. That tool is Techstream, Toyota's factory software. It is what gives access to customizing vehicle electronic settings, auto lock behavior, daytime running light settings, power window options, smart key parameters. On the list, depending on model, whether the doors auto lock when you shift out of park, whether they auto unlock when you shut off, whether holding unlock on the key rolls all the windows down, the seatbelt chime, and that S-flow behavior from number 7. There are 2 ways at it, and one is much better than the other. The bad way is buying the tool. Toyota's software has a confusing setup, multiple subscription tiers, and needs a separate J2534 interface cable that Toyota does not include, and the cheap versions floating around online are pirated, which is its own problem. Some owners get partway there with a consumer OBD dongle and app, but coverage varies wildly. One RAV4 owner reported it did none of the custom options he actually wanted, all of which Techstream had done on his previous cars. The good way is free, and the timing is the whole trick. Here is how an owner on the forums does it, and I have not heard better. Download the manual before buying. List every setting you want changed. Hand the dealer-only ones over to be done during pre-delivery inspection, and put in the contract the right to 2 more changes later at no charge, in case you missed something. That is it. Before you sign, when they want the sale, a technician plugging in a laptop for 10 minutes costs them nothing, and they will do it. After you sign, it becomes a service appointment with a diagnostic fee attached. Which brings me to the part I cannot be pleasant about. Everything so far was hidden by neglect. Nobody profits from you not knowing about the wiper service position. This next one is different because somebody wrote the sentence deliberately, and the sentence costs you money. If you have a 2018 or newer Toyota with a smart key, there is a good chance you can start the engine from the fob by pressing lock 3 times. Cold morning, coffee in hand, 30 feet from the truck. Pure radio, no internet, no app, no phone, no cell tower, nothing but a transmitter in your hand and a receiver in the vehicle you bought. And it will stop working. Toyota confirmed to the drive that if a 2018 or later Toyota is equipped with remote connect functions, the vehicle must be enrolled in a valid subscription for the key fob to start the car remotely. After the trial expires, that service runs $8 a month, or $80 a year. The limitation does not apply to pre-2018 cars, the ones without a cellular module to check up on you. Sit with the mechanics of that, because Toyota explained it themselves. The Connected Services module contains software logic that checks whether you hold an active subscription or trial, and the remote start is enabled or disabled accordingly. A 1 or a 0, on or off. Your key still transmits. The receiver still hears it. The starter still works. A line of code looks up whether your account is paid, and if it is not, it drops the command on the floor. Nothing physical is missing from your vehicle. You are being charged rent on a permission. And their answer when it blew up. A spokesperson said making it part of a subscription was unintentional. The company's position was that fob remote start, pressing lock 3 times, is more like an unofficial user trick that Toyota no longer advertises, which is why there is no dedicated remote start button on the fob. Read that twice. The remedy offered was not to switch it back on. The remedy was to reclassify a function they built, wired, and shipped as something you were never really supposed to have. I want to be fair about what happened next. Toyota did say its executive team was examining whether it could reverse course. What I can verify actually landed is different. Safety Connect and Service Connect trials were extended to up to 10 years. And Toyota's statement is that fob remote start is available during any active trial period, that it stays active for the duration of an open trial, and that trial durations vary and may last up to 10 years. After the trial expires, a paid subscription is required. So the fuse got longer. It did not get removed. That is my read of the record, not a Toyota press release. And if you have a build sheet that says otherwise, I want to see it. The tell is in the paperwork, though. On some current build sheets, additional years of Remote Connect show up as a line item you can buy with the car, which is a strange thing to sell if the function was never a feature. Here's the part that is yours now. This is not really about $80. It is about the shape of the deal changing underneath you without a conversation. You bought hardware. What you were sold, quietly, was hardware plus a flag and a database. And the flag has an expiry date that starts running the day you drive off. When somebody tells you a car has a feature, the question stopped being, does it have it? The question is now, does it keep it? For how long? And what happens on the day the answer changes? You will never unask that question again, and that makes you a harder person to sell to. Good. Step back from the anger for a second, because there is something better underneath it. Every item on this list is a small act of the same thing, knowing what you own. Not owning more, not owning newer, knowing. The people who get 20 years out of a vehicle are almost never the ones who spent the most. They are the ones who read the book, who looked behind the panel, who found out what the button actually does instead of assuming. That is not thrift, and it is not stubbornness. It is a kind of attention, and it is the last thing the modern car is designed to require of you. The trade being offered is that you stop paying attention and somebody else handles it. That deal is real, and sometimes it is worth taking. But it is worth noticing what you give up. A car you understand is a car that cannot surprise you on a Sunday night in a car park. That knowledge does not expire. It does not need a subscription, and nobody can switch it off from a server. Right. What to actually do in order. Tonight in your driveway, 10 minutes. Put the fob into sleep mode and confirm it worked. Slide the mechanical key out and find the lock cylinder under the cap. Switch the car off and hold the wiper stalk on mist for 2 seconds within 45 seconds and watch the arms stand up. This weekend, 20 minutes. Sit in the driver's seat and go through every screen in the vehicle settings menu on the cluster and the multimedia system. Set your lane change flashes higher. Set the relock timer. Set the lift gate height. If it is a hybrid, pull the battery intake filter and vacuum it. Plastic brush only, no compressed air, hand nowhere near the fan. Then the one that pays best. Download the PDF manual for your exact model year. Go to the customization section at the back and read the whole table. Mark every setting you want. Sort them into the ones you can do and the ones flagged dealer only. Now the procedure, and it works whether you are buying tomorrow or you bought 3 years ago. If you are buying, hand the list over before you sign, ask for it at pre-delivery, and get the right to 2 follow-up changes written into the deal. If you already own the car, book it alongside a service you were paying for anyway, hand over a written list with the manual page numbers on it, and ask up front what the labor charge is. If the answer is a full diagnostic hour for 4 toggles, that is your signal to walk. And go do the free ones yourself instead. And one judgment call, since it comes up. Deciding whether to pay for connected services, do not weigh it on whether remote start is nice. Find out your actual trial end date in the app, work out the total between now and when you plan to sell, and compare it against a one-time aftermarket remote start that uses your factory fob. If the subscription total is more than the installed price of the kit, you have your answer, and it will be a different answer for a 3-year lease than for a truck you intend to keep for a decade. Do that, and here is where it lands. Some morning in February, you will be standing at your kitchen window with the truck already warm, the wipers standing up clean off the glass with no ice welded to them, and the $80 still in your account. Small stuff. It adds up to a car that behaves the way you want it to instead of the way it's shipped. Now, the comments. I want something specific from you, and I will give you something back. Post your model year and trim and the one setting that annoys you most, the chime you hate, the doors that lock themselves, the headlights that will not stay off, the climate control that keeps overruling you. I will tell you whether it is in your menus, in the manual as a dealer-only item, or genuinely not there at all, and I answer these. And separately, If you turn wrenches at a Toyota store and I have got a detail wrong about what the factory tool will and will not do on a current model, say so plainly and I will correct it on camera. I would rather be corrected by somebody with the laptop in front of them than be confidently wrong. There is one more thread here I deliberately did not pull because it needs its own hour. Every one of these cars is quietly keeping records, trip data, operation logs, event data. And the question of who can read them and when, and what they are used for, is a lot messier than the subscription business. I am still working through what is verifiable and what is speculation, and I am not putting it out until I can source it properly. If you want that when it is ready, subscribing is how you get it. Go and open the back of your manual. It is the most useful part of the car, and it is the only part almost nobody uses.